In today's video, we're going to go over some more IUPAC nomenclature with some ring compounds. We've already talked about benzene, and if you would see this compound by itself, you would, it's simply a benzene. It's a benzene ring. However, when this benzene ring is added as a substituent on some type of group, say some type of alkyl group, as we'll see here shortly, it is called phenyl. So if you're going to name this compound here, you would name this diphenyl. Two benzene rings together. One is a substituent to the other, so it's no longer going to be a benzene. You wouldn't call this dibenzene. You would call it diphenyl. So how would you name this group here? Well, you will start with the highest ranking group first and the longest chain in the group. So you would start here naming 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So we know this will be some type of heptene. And since it has an alcohol on the end, this is going to be a heptenol. Or technically, you could also put heptene 1-ol if you wanted to be real specific. But since it's the highest ranking group in the chain, the position of it is implied, so you really don't need to put this 1 here. So you have a heptenol. On this heptenol chain, we have 2 phenyl substituents, and we have to locate those. So we have 1 at the 2, and we have 1 at the 6 position. And what do you think this methyl type group is here? Well, this would be methoxy. Methoxy is simply a methyl group with an oxygen. So we have an oxygen and a methyl group, which that should be a 3 here. So you have methoxy, you have an OH group, and then you have 2 phenyl groups. From there, the only thing you have to do is alphabetize it. So MNOP, so P comes last. So let me just rewrite this here. So we will name this 5-methoxy. 2,6-diphenyl heptenol or heptenol. So there you have it. So don't get intimidated when you see a long or bulky compound like this. Just break it down by circling your substituents and identifying what those substituents are. How about this one? Anytime you have a benzene ring with a carbon added to it, that is no longer a phenyl, but it's going to be a benzyl group. So what do you think we will name this compound? So we have this carbon here, unlike up here, where it's attached here as a substituent. Down here you have another group that's actually a part of the benzene ring by itself. So that would be benzyl. So you would just simply name this benzyl chloride. Benzyl chloride, which is more of a functional class name. What if you have a methyl group on the benzene ring? Well, you call this toluene. A benzene ring with a methyl group by itself is toluene. However, if you would, of course, come over here and add a chlorine, taking away one of those hydrogens because you have to have carbon has to have 4 bonds. It becomes a benzyl group. A little confusing, but this is something you just have to kind of memorize and get used to. So if we come down here, where we have you would probably be tempted to say this is a diphenyl. But actually, when, as we just saw here, this is a toluene. So we would name this whole thing here as a substituent to toluene. So you wouldn't be wrong if you called this 2-phenyl toluene. 2-phenyl toluene. But when we deal with these benzene rings and we start adding substituents on it and naming these substituents, it's common practice to use what we're going to call ortho, meta, and the para position. And that simply means at these positions relative to the group that is naming the compound. So if you got this on here, that's called toluene. And say if we have this here, phenyl group here, we would simply name this ortho phenyl toluene. However, more than likely you will simply see that as 0, or not 0, an O, phenyl, O-phenyl toluene. More than likely you'll always see the ortho and the meta and the para simply abbreviated with the first letter. So that would be ortho phenyl toluene. And the ortho is simply going to be the first carbon away from the group that's naming the compound. Meta is simply the carbon that's 2 away, and para is simply one that's 4 away. Opposite para or opposite from the substituent. So if we had this group here, this substituent here makes this phenyl group or benzene ring phenol. So if you added, say if you added a methyl here to phenol, that simply would be ortho methyl phenol. So you get the idea. What about this? Well, you may be tempted to call this 1,2-dimethyl benzene, or maybe 2-methyl toluene, but actually that's another compound altogether called xylene. And when you get to xylene, you're going to have to name it one of these positions here. So this position here would simply be ortho xylene. And if you had the second methyl group at the meta position, this would be metaxylene.